Hi everybody, it's me and Maya, also known as Yaya. I'm back. So yesterday we read through chapters 5 through 7. So today I'm reading chapter 8 of Numbers. And of course I'm reading from the Amplified version. Okay, so chapter 8, the 7 lamps. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you set up and light the lamps, the 7 lamps will shine in front of the lampstand." And Aaron did so. He set up the lamps at the front of the lampstand, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Now this was the workmanship of the lampstand, hammered work of gold. From its base to its flowers, it was hammered work, according to the pattern which the Lord had showed Moses. So he made the lampstand. Now, cleansing the Levites. According to the Lord, again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Take the Levites from among the sons of Israel and cleanse them. This is what you shall do to them. Ceremonially cleanse them. Sprinkle the water of purification on them, and let them use a razor over their whole body and wash their clothes, and they will be clean. Then let them take a young bull and its grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, and you shall take another young bull as a sin offering. You shall present the Levites before the tent of meeting, or tabernacle. And you shall also assemble the whole congregation of the children of Israel, and present the Levites before the Lord. And the Israelites shall lay their hands on the Levites. Aaron shall present the Levites before the Lord as a wave offering from the Israelites, so that they may perform the service of the Lord. Then the Levites shall lay their hands on the heads of the bulls. Then you are to offer the one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering to the Lord, and to make atonement for the Levites. You shall have the Levites stand before Aaron and his sons and present them as a wave offering to the Lord. Thus you shall separate the Levites from among the Israelites, and the Levites shall be mine in a very special sense. Then after that, the Levites may go in to serve the tent of meeting, or tabernacle, but you shall cleanse them first and present them as a wave offering, for they are wholly given to me from among the Israelites. I have taken them for myself instead of all who are born first, the firstborn of all the Israelites. For all the firstborn among the Israelites are mine, among the men and among the animals. On the day that I struck down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified and set the Israelites apart for myself. And I have taken the Levites instead of every firstborn among the Israelites. I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and to his sons from among the Israelites, to perform the service of the Israelites at the tent of meeting, or tabernacle, and to make atonement for them, so that there will be no plague among the Israelites if they should approach the sanctuary." Thus Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel did these things to the Levites, in accordance with all that the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so the Israelites did to them. The Levites too purified themselves from sin, and they washed their clothes, and Aaron presented them as a wave offering before the Lord, and Aaron made atonement for them to cleanse them. Then after the Levites went in to perform their service in the tent of meeting before Aaron and his sons, just as the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so they did to them. Retirement. Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "This is what applies to the Levites. From 25 years old and upward, they shall enter to perform service in the work of the tent of meeting. But at the age of 50 years, they shall retire from the service of the tabernacle work and serve no longer. They may assist their brothers in the tent of meeting to keep an obligation, but they shall do no heavy or difficult work. Thus you shall deal with the Levites according to their obligations." Okay, so now I'm down in the footnotes. Okay, so Numbers. So it says, by laying his hands on the head of the sacrifice, the offerer identified himself with it, and through its death, it became an atonement or covering for his sin. Because the sacrifice covered his sin, it placed the offerer in right relationship with God. Just as later under the new covenant, the perfection and sacrifice of Christ would atone for the imperfection and sin of those who identified with him and accepted him as Savior. So, Numbers 9, the Passover. The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they had come out of the land of Egypt, saying, the sons of Israel are to keep the Passover at its appointed time. On the 14th day of this month, at twilight, you shall keep it at its appointed time. According to all its statutes and ordinances, you shall keep it. So Moses told the Israelites to observe the Passover. They observed the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at twilight in the wilderness of Sinai, in accordance with all that the Lord had commanded Moses, so the Israelites did. But there were certain men who were ceremonially unclean because of the touching of the dead body of a man, so they could not observe the Passover on that day. So they came before Moses and Aaron that same day. Those men said to Moses, we are ceremonially unclean because of the touching of a dead body. Why are we being restrained from presenting the Lord's offering at its appointed time among the Israelites? Therefore Moses said to them, wait, I will listen to what the Lord will command concerning you. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, say to the Israelites, if any one of you or of your descendants becomes ceremonially unclean because of touching a dead body, or is on a distant journey, he may, however, observe the Passover to the Lord. On the 14th day of the second month, 30 days later, at twilight, they shall observe it. They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it until morning, nor break any of its bones. In accordance with all the statutes of the Passover, they shall observe it. But the man who is ceremonially clean and is not on a journey, and yet does not observe the Passover, that person shall be cut off from among his people. And in brackets it says, excluding him from the atonement made for him. Because he did not bring the Lord's offering at his appointed time, that man will bear, in brackets, the penalty of his sin. If a stranger lives among you as a resident alien and observes the Passover to the Lord in accordance with his statutes and its ordinances, so shall he do. He shall have one statute both for the resident alien and for the native of the land. The cloud on the tabernacle. Now on the day that the tabernacle was erected, the cloud of God's presence covered the tabernacle, that is, the tent of testimony, and in the evening it was over the tabernacle, appearing like a pillar of fire until morning. So it was continuously, the cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night. Whenever the cloud was lifted from over the tent or tabernacle, afterward the Israelites were set out, and in the place where the cloud stopped, there the Israelites were camped. At the Lord's command, the Israelites would journey on, and at his command they would camp. As long as the cloud remained over the tabernacle, they remained camped. Even when the cloud lingered over the tabernacle for many days, the Israelites would keep their obligation to the Lord and not set out. Sometimes the cloud remained only a few days over the tabernacle, and in accordance with the commands of the Lord, they remained camped. Then, as he commanded, they set out. If sometimes the cloud remained over the tabernacle from evening only until morning, when the cloud was lifted in the morning, they would journey on, whether in the daytime or at night. Whenever the cloud was lifted, they would set out. Whether it was 2 days or a month or a year, that the cloud of the Lord's presence lingered over the tabernacle, staying above it, the Israelites remained camped and did not set out. But when it was lifted, they set out. At the command of the Lord, they camped, and at the command of the Lord, they journeyed on. They kept their obligation to the Lord in accordance with the command through Moses. Okay, Numbers 10. The silver trumpets. The Lord spoke further to Moses, saying, make 2 trumpets of silver. You shall make them of hammered work. You shall use them to summon the congregation and to have the camps move out. When both are blown, all the congregation, that is, all adult males, shall gather before you at the doorway of the tent of meeting or tabernacle. However, if a single trumpet is blown, then the leaders, heads of the tribes of Israel, shall gather themselves to you. When you blow an alarm, the camps on the east side of the tabernacle shall set out. When you blow an alarm the second time, then the camps on the south side of the tabernacle shall set out. They shall blow an alarm whenever they are to move out on their journeys. When the assembly is to be gathered, you shall blow the trumpets in short, sharp tones, but without sounding an alarm. The sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow the trumpets, and the trumpet shall be for you a perpetual statute throughout your generations. When you go to war in your land against the enemy that attacks you, then sound an alarm with the trumpet so that you may be remembered before the Lord your God, and you shall be saved from your enemies. Also in the day of rejoicing and in your appointed feasts and at the beginnings of your months, you shall sound the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifice of your peace offerings, and they shall be as a reminder of you before your God. I am the Lord your God. The tribes leave Sinai. On the 20th day of the second month in the second year since leaving Egypt, the cloud of the Lord's presence was lifted from over the tabernacle of the testimony, and the Israelites set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud of the Lord's guiding presence settled down in the wilderness of Paran. So they moved out for the first time in accordance with the command of the Lord through Moses. The standard of the camp of the sons of Judah, according to their armies, moved out first. Nahshon, the son of Amminadab, was commander over it, and Nethanel, the son of Zuar, was commander over the tribal army of the sons of Issachar, and Eliab, the son of Helon, was commander over the tribal army of the sons of Zebulun. Then the tabernacle was taken down, and the sons of Gershon and the sons of Merari, who were carrying the tabernacle, moved out. Next, the standard of the camp of the sons of Reuben, according to their armies, moved out, with Eliezer, the son of Shadur, commander over its army. And Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai, was commander over the tribal armies of the sons of Simeon, and Eliasaph, the son of Duel, was commander over the tribal army of the sons of Gad. Then the Kohathites moved out, carrying the holy things, and the tabernacle was set up before they arrived. Next, the standard of the camp of the sons of Ephraim moved out, according to their armies, with Elishama, the son of Ammihud, commander over its army, and Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur, was commander over the tribal army of the sons of Manasseh. And Abidan, the son of Gideoni, was commander over the tribal army of the sons of Benjamin. Then the standard of the camp of the sons of Dan, according to their armies, which formed the rear guard for all the camps, moved out, with Ahizud, the son of Ammishaddai, commander over its army, and Pagiel, the son of Akran, was commander over the tribal army of the sons of Asher, and Ahira, the son of Enan, was commander over the tribal army of the sons of Naphtali. This was the order of march of the sons of Israel by their armies as they moved out. Then Moses said to Hobab, the son of Ruel, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, "We are going to the place of which the Lord said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will be good to you, for the Lord has promised good things concerning Israel." But Hobab, Moses' brother-in-law, said to him, "I will not go. I will return to my own land and to my family." Then Moses said, "Please do not leave us, for you know how we are to camp in the wilderness, and you will serve as eyes for us as we make our trek through the desert. So if you will go with us, it shall be that whatever good the Lord does for us, we will do the same for you." So they set out from the mountain of the Lord, Sinai, 3 days' journey, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord went in front of them during the 3 days' journey to seek out a resting place for them. The cloud of the Lord was over them by day when they set out from the camp. Whenever the ark set out, Moses said, "Rise up, O Lord! Let your enemies be scattered, and let those who hate you flee before you." And when the ark rested, Moses said, "Return, O Lord, to the myriad or many thousands of Israel." So I'm down in the footnotes. Okay, so I don't know if you're a Christian. I don't know much about people who are white Christians or Hispanic Christians, but I know for Black Christians, if you go to church, if you've been in a lot of Black churches, there's a song and it says something like, Let your enemies be scattered. Let God arise. And your enemies be scattered. Let God arise. And your enemies be scattered. Let God arise. So, okay. Anyway, so that's a song they sing in black churches. So I just saw that and I thought about that song. Okay, so footnotes. Let's see what's down here. Okay, so okay, okay. Okay, interesting. So we see that Moses' brother-in-law was Hobab, and he was convincing him to stay behind. So it says here, the text does not say so, but Hobab seems to have remained with the Israelites, for later history shows that his descendants lived in Canaan. And it says in parentheses, it shows Judges 1 verse 16 and 1 Samuel 15 verse 6. Okay, so I'm going to keep going because I've only been reading for about 15 minutes. Okay, the people complain. Chapter 11. Now the people became like those who complain and whine about their hardships. And the Lord heard it. And when the Lord heard it, his anger was kindled. And the fire of the Lord burned among them and devoured those in the outlying parts of the camp. So the people cried out to Moses, and when Moses prayed to the Lord, the fire died out. He named the place Tabernacle, the place of burning, because the fire of the Lord burned among them. The rabble among them who followed Israel from Egypt, had greedy desires for familiar and delicious food. And the Israelites wept again and said, "Who will give us meat to eat? We remember the fish we ate freely and without cost in Egypt, the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. But now our appetite is gone. There is nothing at all in the way of food to be seen but this manna." Ooh, wow. They better be careful because that was God's gift to them, so they would have something to eat. Right? I believe it was the manna and the quail, right? I think. And the way they describe it, manna is not bad tasting stuff. It tasted like, what did they say, like wafers mixed with honey. It's not bad, That's pleasant. But anyway, they better be careful. Anyway, the manna was like coriander seed and it looked like bdellium. Okay, bdellium. Let me go down to the footnotes. Okay, 7D. Okay, so bdellium, a gum resin obtained from various trees of the genus Commiphora. This resin was used as an ingredient to make incense or perfume and was also used as a topical ointment. Let's see, go back up to 7. Okay, so the manna was like coriander seed and it looked like bdellium. The people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills or beat it in mortars and boiled it in pots and made cakes with it. And it tasted like cakes baked with fresh olive oil. When the dew fell on the camp at night, the manna fell with it. Okay, the complaint of Moses. Now Moses heard the people weeping in self-pity throughout their families, every man at the doorway of his tent, and the anger of the Lord blazed hotly. And Moses regarded their behavior as evil. So Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you been so hard on your servant? And why have I not found favor in your sight that you have placed the burden of all these people on me?" Yeah, that wasn't an easy task, even though he was this amazing, great man that we still, revere today. That was not an easy job. There's a cost to greatness, right? So anyway, was it I who conceived all these people? Was it I who brought them forth, that you should say to me, "Carry them in your arms as a nurse carries the nursing infant to the land which you swore to their fathers? Where am I to get meat to give all these people? For they weep before me and say, 'Give us meat so that we may eat.' I am not able to carry all these people alone, because the burden is too heavy for me. So if this is the way you are going to deal with me, please kill me at once." if I have found favor in your sight, and do not let me see my wretchedness. Okay, I hear you, Moses. Okay, 70 elders to assist. Accordingly, the Lord said to Moses, gather for me 70 men from among the elders in Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people, of their officers. Bring them to the tent of meeting or tabernacle, and let them stand there with you. Then I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take away some of the spirit who is upon you, and will put him upon them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you will not have to bear it alone. Say to the people, consecrate or separate as holy yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat, for you have wept in self-pity in the ears of the Lord, saying, who will give us meat to eat? For we were well off in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat not 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and is disgusting to you. Because you have rejected and despised the Lord who is among you, and have wept in self-pity before him, saying, why did we come out of Egypt? But Moses said, the people among whom I am are 600,000 fighting men on foot, besides all the women and children. Yet you have said, I will give them meat, so that they may eat it for a whole month. Should flocks and herds be slaughtered for them to be sufficient for them? Or should all the fish of the sea be collected for them to be sufficient for them? The Lord said to Moses, is the Lord's hand, in parentheses ability, power, limited, in parentheses short, inadequate? You shall see now whether my word will come to pass for you or not. Okay, so Moses went out and spoke to the people the words of the Lord, and he gathered 70 men from among the elders of the people and stationed them around the tent or tabernacle. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him, and he took some of the spirit who was upon Moses and put him upon the 70 elders. When the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, in brackets, praising God and declaring his will, but they did not do it again. But 2 men had remained in the camp, one named Eldad and the other named Medad. The spirit rested upon them, in parentheses, now they were among those who had been registered, but had not gone out to the tent. And they prophesied in the camp. So a young man ran and told Moses, said, Eldad and Medad are prophesying, in brackets, extolling the praises of God and declaring his will in the camp. Then Joshua the son of Nun, the attendant of Moses from his youth, said, my Lord Moses, stop them. But Moses said to him, are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his spirit upon them. Then Moses went back into the camp, and he and the elders of Israel. Okay, so that's interesting. Now, I'm sure you remember maybe like a book or so ago, that Moses' father-in-law, right, Ruel, or he has some other name they call him. Anyway, Moses' father-in-law said to Moses, like, you're not going to be able to last like this, just taking care of all these people by yourself. And he said to him, have, people who are, have your people who are over 100 or over 1,000 people, have some elders to help you. And Moses did take that advice, and because, I've talked about, praise God, for, listening to your elders, and they certainly have something worthwhile to say to you. So maybe Moses did that back then, but I don't know, maybe that wasn't even enough even still, because these are 600,000 people, all complaining at him all at once, And so I guess then God had the 70 elders who he put his spirit on, so that's even better. So I guess those are 2 separate events, I guess. Unless the footnotes tell us something different, right? Okay, the quail and the plague. Now there went forth a wind from the Lord, and it brought quails from the sea and let them fall. So they flew low beside the camp, about a day's journey on this side and on the other side, all around the camp, about 2 cubits or 3 feet deep on the surface of the ground. Wow. The people spent all that day and night and all the next day and caught and gathered the quail. The one who gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them out for themselves around the camp to cure them by drying. While the meat was still between their teeth, before it was chewed, the anger of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord struck them with a very severe plague. So that place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, the graves of greediness, because there they buried the people who had been greedy for more than the manna that God provided them. From Kibroth Hattaavah, the people set out for Hazeroth, and they remained at Hazeroth. Okay, so that's interesting. So it's saying that, I guess it's saying especially those particular people who were really like, saying, oh, we need some real food. We're sick of this manna, kind of what they were saying, right? Those people in particular definitely caught the plague. And it said earlier, if you remember, that a big part, like the main people who were complaining were those people, not necessarily Israelites, but other, I guess, disenfranchised people leaving, who left Egypt and followed behind them and were with them. And I don't know, I mean, not to be racist or prejudiced or whatever it is, but maybe in some way that was a good thing, because these are people who weren't Israelites. They had a different way of thinking, completely different background. They had previously, or maybe even still currently, worshipped other gods. And so in a kind of a way that kind of maybe purified them a little, so kind of got rid of that element that was not in line with their religious beliefs. Maybe it's a thought. Okay. Okay, footnotes. Let's see. Okay, so 11:4. Okay, it says the rabble among them who followed Israel from Egypt had greedy desires for familiar and delicious foods, and the Israelites wept again and said, okay. So anyway, okay, so rabble, a unique word found only here in the Old Testament. It refers to the mixed multitude of non-Israelites who joined the Exodus. Okay. Okay, so I think this is interesting. Okay, so it's talking about the council of elders. So it says a council of 70 elders had existed the year before this, and it's referring to Exodus chapter 24, verse 9. It appears to be the source of the Sanhedrin, the highest Jewish assembly for government in the time of our Lord, usually translated council. Yeah, because remember, like I said, Moses' father-in-law said that he needed some help. So this is interesting. But it was no mention of God putting his spirit on them, or them prophesying and declaring, the glory of God, like I said in this chapter. Okay, Numbers 12. Oh, wow. Okay, this is going to be my last chapter because I'm 28 minutes in. The murmuring of Miriam and Aaron. Now Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. And they said, has the Lord really spoken only through Moses? Has he not spoken also through us? And the Lord heard it. Now the man, Moses, was very humble, in parentheses, gentle, kind, devoid of self-righteousness, more than any man who was on the face of the earth. Okay. Suddenly the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, come out, you three, to the tent of meeting, or tabernacle. And the three of them came out. The Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the doorway of the tabernacle. And he called Aaron and Miriam, and they came forward, and he said, hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision, and I will speak to him in a dream. But it is not so with my servant Moses. He is entrusted and faithful in all my house. With him I speak mouth to mouth directly, clearly and openly, and not in riddles. And he beholds the Lord, and he beholds the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Miriam and Aaron, and he departed. But when the cloud had withdrawn from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow. And Aaron turned and looked at Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Then Aaron said to Moses, Oh, my Lord, I plead with you, do not account this sin to us, in which we have acted foolishly, and in which we have sinned. Oh, do not let her be like one dead, already half decomposed, when he comes from his mother's womb. So Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, Heal her, O God, I plead with you. But the Lord said to Moses, If her father had but spit in her face, would she not bear her shame for 7 days? Let her be shut up outside the camp for 7 days, and afterwards she may return. So Miriam was shut up outside the camp for 7 days, and the people did not move on until Miriam was brought in again and declared ceremonially clean from her leprosy. Afterward, the people moved on from Hazeroth and camped in the wilderness of Paran. Woo! God, isn't it wonderful when God deals with your enemies? Isn't it just wonderful when you just feel like God has vindicated you? Isn't it a wonderful feeling? Well, I'm not saying Moses didn't love his sister Miriam, and he did plead out, cry out for God to heal her. And if he hadn't done that, maybe she wouldn't have been healed if he hadn't done that. There's no indication to believe that she would have been healed had he not cried out to the Lord for her. But it's just, and it's just, whew. But yeah, it was a bit big-headed. If you think about all that Moses had dealt with these people and all that he had done for these people, and for his sister of all people to say that about him, that's kind of a hurtful, messed up thing, But what did they say? I think, isn't it Jesus who said that? What did he say? That something a prophet doesn't have any honor in his hometown, or something like that. There's some saying like that. That basically, when people are too familiar with you, it's hard for them to respect you like other folks do. When they watched you grow up, they know everything about you. They've seen your good, your bad, and your ugly, and it's just hard for them to see you in the same light as other folks, And then the Bible says something about that's why Jesus couldn't do any miracles, or he did very little miracles in the particular town where he wasn't respected, because I think people are like, isn't that the carpenter's son? Okay, so let me see, that was the last chapter for today, and let's see what it says down in the footnotes. Okay, so it says here, Miriam is presumed to be the leader of the attack on Moses' authority because she is mentioned before Aaron, and because of the severity of her punishment. And that's what it seems like from the way it was worded. This is interesting. Okay, so yeah, because even before Miriam complained about hasn't God spoken through us? Aren't we great? Aren't we something special too? Before that, she was talking about his Cushite wife. Which is to me it seems a little bit short-sighted with the word, maybe, or ignorant, or something like that, because he had to run it. He had to escape to the desert, into the wilderness to flee from Pharaoh. Because remember, when he killed that Egyptian, Pharaoh was gonna try to kill him. So he went out into the wilderness, and then he ran into Zipporah and her sisters and her father, and he married her. So, I mean, there weren't any Israelites around for him to marry, so what was he supposed to be, a eunuch, during that period of time? I mean, what did she expect? So I guess that was and there's nothing to indicate that Zipporah was a really a bad or evil person or a bad wife or anything, and there's nothing to indicate that she wasn't living her life as an Israelite and worshiping God, as she should have. There's nothing to indicate that. So I guess that's just, racism raising its ugly head, because it's, other than the fact that she was a Cushite woman, there's nothing to indicate there was anything wrong with her. But Miriam had a problem with that. Although who else was Moses supposed to have married at that time, if you think about it, so anyhow, yeah, racism. Okay, so let me read this footnote. Because the ancient borders of Cush and Midian sometimes overlapped, Miriam may have considered Moses' wife, Zipporah, a Cushite instead of a Midianite. However, it is also possible that Zipporah had died, and this refers to a second wife. Marriage with a Canaanite was forbidden, but not marriage with an Egyptian or a Cushite. Joseph's wife was Egyptian. Numbers 12:3. Now the man Moses was very humble and, in parentheses, gentle, kind, devoid of self-righteousness, more than any man who was on the face of the earth. Wow, what a thing to say about somebody. Okay, and it says here, some scholars believe this comment was added to the text after Moses' death. Okay, and then 12:14. And it says, but the Lord said to Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, would she not bear her shame for 7 days? And so they're saying spit in her face could also mean rebuked her publicly. Okay, so that was interesting. Okay, I just love this because I've said this before, but I learning things and I hear things and I read things that I've never read before, never heard before. So all of this is quite interesting. And so she was a Cushite woman, she was a Cushite, right? Yeah, she was a Cushite woman. And so I believe I heard that Zipporah was actually a black woman. Woo-hoo. Okay, I tell you. So Jews have definitely had their share of racism over the millennia, and we have too. Which is why I believe Jews at one point early on in the civil rights movement, Jewish people are very active in the civil rights movement. So anyhow, may God bless you real good. I pray in Jesus' name that but God bless you real good. And I want you to be fertile ground. I want you to be fertile ground for the Word of God. And have a wonderful afternoon, evening, daytime. And God willing, see you tomorrow. Well, you'll see me tomorrow, and I'll be reading to you tomorrow. Okay.